Welcome to Impossible Live. Welcome back to Impossible Live. If you're joining us for the first time, you are so in the right place. Whether it's a gray day, a sunny day, you're celebrating a milestone, or freezing temperatures, or you just want to pop in on LinkedIn, on Meta, on YouTube, just want to invite you to sit back and relax and to lean in as we welcome our amazing guest today. Had the pleasure of meeting Martin Stark. Thanks to Roy Kowarski of Out There Branding. And Roy was hosting an audio room on LinkedIn way back when, yes, that I used to pop into regularly. And I popped in one day on a day when I'm not the news girl. That's changed a little bit now. But when the SCOTUS, shall we say, SCOTUS, had shared some news during Pride Month that just didn't sit and align right. I wasn't in the best frame of mind, and I wasn't planning on raising my hand to join anybody on stage. And I'm listening to these two gentlemen speak, and I'm not in the best of moods. It's the reminder how we show up, how we share what this gentleman has helped me learn, this amazing man, about courage and about how we show up in a fragile world that doesn't always welcome our voices. But I want to thank Martin Stark that day for helping me lean into what human design is: peace, not anger, helping it evaporate on what was a major weekend where it was the culmination of Pride Month, and sharing his wonderful light and helping me lean into Ignite Trust. Without further ado, I want to give him a chance to introduce himself. And I want you, in your bookmark, get ready, get set to purchase a copy of Courage, Your Right Hook. Without further delay, and thank you, warm welcome, Martin. Thank you for joining us.
No, you're welcome, Mel. Always lovely chatting with you, and thanks for inviting me on the show. As always, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land where I currently am, the Gamaraga people, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. I'm Martin Stark, the Courage Champion. You may know me from the world of boxing, the founder and CEO of the World Gay Boxing Championships, also keynote speaker, and author of the book Courage, Your Right Hook.
Martin is such an eloquent speaker, fabulous keynote, fabulous teacher, amazing facilitator, fabulous leader. And I'm having so much fun watching your evolution. Leaning into your body of work and thought leadership as the Courage Champion, how you show up and how you help encourage those of us who aren't sure we're quite ready. We have no idea where to start. But in the process of your book, which I can't wait to meet you and get a signed copy, but in the process of listening to not just your evolution as the Courage Champion, not just parts of your journey that you shared with vulnerability, with transparency, learning about your 6 pillars of courage. This amazing gentleman, he has so much he can teach us. And I had fun actually when we were prepping in asking Martin what was his favorite chapter of this rich book, Courage, Your Right Hook. Tell us more about that, please, Martin.
So my favorite chapter is the final chapter of the book. And I'll explain it why, because I've been on the journey through writing the book, sharing my story from being in comas in the UK in 2006 to even going back as further back as in my teenage years before I came out and grappling with being gay, to then delivering the second World Gay Boxing Championships in Chicago. So if you ever had the experience of you're reading a book and you don't want to look forward to the end because you're really enjoying reading the book, I actually wanted the final chapter to be something I enjoyed sharing. So I'd done a lot of time researching and writing, so that the final chapter was really a chapter just for me and sharing a final story. And it was a great year of 2024, from going to Chicago, being in Ghana, spending time at a national park with my husband's family, and then throwing the ceremony, opening pictures of the Chicago Cubs. It was like a really great journey. So I enjoyed writing chapter 12 the most, because it was been a fun experience. And I wanted the book to finish on a high. So it's always best to finish on something when you're happy.
And I love that, because I'm really, I have a couple of favorite chapters. I not only love your story and the celebration in your chapter about being the courage champion, but I love the space and the grace with which you started your amazing book. In your introduction, you invited us to explore courage at our own pace. And you have an amazing framework around pace, around the magic. Your book just really, I am so ready for the book club. I'm just ready for the book club. I'm also ready for the signed copy, but I'm really ready for your book club.
Our signed copy will definitely, when we catch up, it's going to be
definitely. I can't wait. I can't wait. Hey, when you pop back in the US, believe me, there's a plane, and I'm ready to come down under. I want to see the Sydney Opera House. I want to sail from there and walk over the amazing bridge. Though these are on my bucket list. Your intro, your vision, the care. I loved also that while talking about the World Gay Boxing Championships, that your chapters were rounds. Like I could hear this on an audiobook with like somebody ringing a bell, you know, or Martin, you doing this, and there's that alarm bell, and how you blend the lens of safety and courage throughout your book. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, the book itself, it actually has a boxing theme. So that the cover, you have red, you have blue. In boxing and amateur boxing, you have the red corner and the blue corner. The first 6 chapters in the book, the outline of the book is red for the first 6 and then blue for the final. I'm just reading through that right now. So there's a boxing theme in there. And 12 rounds is what you have in professional boxing, in elite level men's professional boxing. You want it to have a really boxing theme. And with courage, I'm going to go back with courage at your own pace. And I'm actually going to share that I actually changed the P. It used to be passion, and I changed that to purpose. Courage at your own pace. I believe we're all courageous in our own way. And sometimes people just need a little bit of guidance, and some people are ready to make that leap of faith. But it's up to individuals on their own journey. So that's why I call it at your own pace. There are certain things we do which we're so gung-ho, we're so comfortable doing that. We do that as babies when we learn to walk. Riding the bike, you remove the stabilizers or the training wheels, you're ready to make those leaps. As adults, it's not always as easy as a child learning to walk. You do things in a way that's comfortable for you. The 4 steps are your purpose. That's your inner fire. In order to do something, you need that purpose. And then it's just taking those steps. It's taking that action. Then from that action, the trial and error and experimenting comes that confidence. It's that refinement. It's that confidence helps you get to that level where you're refining, you're experimenting, you're then almost able to inspire confidence in others. And the final step is excellence. You're celebrating, you're continuing to make that journey, you have that grit, determination. And the reason I called it excellence, because I used to be hindered by perfectionism, still am to a certain extent. And I think when you strive for excellence, it enables you to achieve great outcomes. Perfectionism doesn't stop you, and you're continuously improving. That's why I call the final step excellence.
Wow. I You remind me of so many beautiful things. One is that this is one of, and as many of our guests, whether they're joining us live or they're on team replay, will share. I used to have a word of the year. It was a big thing. This is one of the first years that I do not have a word of the year. Instead, I pick themes of the year. And I love it because your PACE and the acronym are reminding me of parts of it. One of the themes is rhythm. It's around the energies, ways to help preserve healthy boundaries, make sure I'm approaching stuff and really from a discernment perspective as a theme, but the energies as a theme and clarity and really around simplify. And I think what I loved, besides just being a teacher's kid who loves really clear frameworks, and I love it because in the beginning, your invitation to explore courage at our own pace was, ooh, this can feel like a puzzle or like a bag of puzzle pieces, and we're not really sure in which way we want to organize them. Or like you're saying, the perfectionism. Is this the right piece? Is this the right piece to share at this time, and how to share it? But what I love is you mention, and I can't even say the word, under vision, is about the crucial role in how fear and courage are experienced and managed. It was an effect, and I love it as a teacher's kid because I've got my list of Martin words I need to go look up and check out in the thesaurus. But you mentioned I'm going to mess it up, propinquity effect.
Propinquity.
Thank you so much. Tell us about that, please. So,
it's one of my favorite words. I actually got that word from watching Miss Marple as a kid. Miss Marple was a detective series written by Agatha Christie. I remember watching this. The Miss Marple is probably second most famous character by Agatha Christie after Hercule Poirot. And propinquity effect is that closeness, that proximity to. So how often are you close to courage? You see somebody on the street who and you see them, oh, that person's really achieved. They've just got that courage. There's something within them, the way they're a bit of a role model. How often do you have an opportunity because you're close to somebody, they can open that door for you? Now, propinquity effect is that closeness to courage. If you can start being courageous, how many doors are open for you because people see you being courageous, they see you being confident. And I do believe in creating your own fate. I don't believe in fate. I don't think things are destined to happen. I just think things happen. But I do believe you can create your own opportunities in life. So Mel and I, we are having a first LinkedIn Live, first conversation. We've been in numerous audio rooms together with each other. We've had numerous conversations with each other. But this is the first time we've actually been on a live event with each other. That's the propinquity effect. Started in a room hosted by Roy Kowalski. So here you go. Imagine the opportunity to have a conversation with Mel. I think it would have happened anyway because of our networks moving closer in line with each other. But the courage to reach out and take that next stage and have the conversations. I think people wait for opportunities in life, or it will happen when this happens, and they set preconditions on things. And that's not always the right way to do things.
See, I love that you mentioned about fate because I'm a believer in divine timing. And from music being my dad's love language, I learned through that ability to one of my collaborators said, I laugh because Elijah said, Mel, you type smiles across the miles. It sounds so corny. He says, but Mel, when I hear you say it, I know you mean smiles across the miles. Yeah. I love what you're saying about Roy because I had been spending years in audio communities with Roy. And Roy was the first person on Clubhouse to say, send a message on LinkedIn. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today. Feel free to unmute your mic and share your voice. And what Roy didn't realize was at that point, you'll say the right hook was kind of missing. I didn't really know where I wanted to share that voice. I wasn't sure that the safety and the trust aligns, but I really have a large and tremendous trust in Roy and the really safe spaces, safe kind of what I call sacred spaces. And especially at that time, I was just starting to lean into Ignite Trust. If I hadn't met the two of you quite on that day as I was just starting to really define the trust vision or the mission, I don't think, I know it was more than fate. I really felt like meeting the two of you that day was like destiny. It was Friday during the summer. I could have been anywhere. We could have been doing anything, any place else. And what was interesting is there were no recordings. So the cool part about joining Martin live today, and for those of you who are joining us live, this is our first recorded session. We're going to have more with Martin because I could talk to him forever, truly. And he's got that wealth of a beautiful knowledge. But thank you so much for giving us a sense of that effect, because I was like, that lens that you have, and I really struggled with it personally for a while, finding safe environments in which my magnet for sometimes attracting passive aggressive people, and whether it's running into people who were phobic or had a preconception about how we show up, how we present ourselves, how we introduce ourselves, whether the introvert was in a back seat or not, or whether that day I was the teacher's kid with my hand raising high. People are looking sometimes for different ways for us to show up. One of the things that I loved that day, especially, and in every interaction with you, is that you're creating space for us to just be fully present. And in the positive intelligence community, from an energy perspective, from a sustainable energy perspective, I really was searching for that. And positive intelligence coaches, I want to encourage you, Martin's book is a godsend, from the sense of he's got a chapter about empathetic courage. And from the perspective of those of us hoping for a lighter, brighter, less fragile world where we could really show up, he's got an amazing chapter on moral courage. Just Martin, I mean, and I appreciate your transparency because you talk about this is your first book.
This is my first book, and I'm writing another book right now, which is taking me a year to write because I'm writing something every single day. Moral courage, I want to tap into this right now because it's so opportune with what's happening with the change administration in America and the pushback against diversity, equity, and inclusion. Moral courage, taking a firm stand for what you believe in and committing to your values. I want to make this into a business context. Moral courage, you may have a view on a social issue. Just set that aside right now. Your value proposition, what you do as your profession or your business. Moral courage really comes into play here when you actually stand behind what you do, the products and services that you offer, and how it can help another person, it can help a customer. It's a value for a company you want to work for. When you stand behind that and people see your conviction, then you're committing to your values of doing the right thing, delivering exceptional service, focusing on the client relationship, being customer-centric. The difference that makes in terms of an impression, accelerating the know, like, and trust. How often do you get a message on LinkedIn, somebody wants to sell you something and they have no idea what you do? It happens all the time. Now, the difference for somebody who might want to sell something to you, but they understand what you do. Hey, you're a coach, you're a speaker, you're a teacher, you're an engineer. Yeah, I actually work with engineers. I see you've been doing this. Would you be open to having a conversation with me? This is a resource that might be able to help you. And you've been engaging with period over a period of time. The difference for me is moral courage, because you're taking a stand for what you believe in, but committing to your values and the common values of respect, courtesy, dignity, relationship building. That's where all of these things come into play. And if you want to go to more around the social issues, I've been leading change in global sport, particularly boxing and combat sport, taking a stand against homophobia. Not every organization likes what I do. I've had a lot of pushback, but I've had lots of many great relationships and opportunities. So moral courage can also be your differentiator. In the world of sameness, and particularly right now, I'm coming back to the pushback against diversity, equity, and inclusion. Are you comfortable for people to experience racism? Are you comfortable for people to be bullied? Are you comfortable that people experience homophobia, bullying online? Of course not. So why does a change in pushing back against DEI change your moral courage, change how you will treat others? Does removing DEI give people carte blanche to be bullies, to be disrespectful, to hurt another person? Of course it doesn't. The change in DEI doesn't mean that we change who we are and how we operate our businesses, our professions, and being human beings.
Ooh, beyond mic drops. The part that's really catching me, and I appreciate this, we're recording this the week of Martin Luther King Day. And one of the things from your perspective and our conversations about moral compass is my brother and I have a letter my dad wrote me, and he wrote it to us 3 weeks after Martin Luther King's assassination. And we had no idea as kids of the timing of this. Yeah. And for the positive intelligence coaches and community, and those of you who've been around from the beginning, where I had some conversations about your essence of trust and truth. And there's a picture of me as a child with braids. The day that picture was taken, I had my first fight, and my father wrote the letter shortly afterwards. I was in a world where I was called a word where I didn't have a filter or a process for as a child. I had never heard the word until my best friend said it. My dad wrote us a letter that, from a moral courage perspective, I will make sure that I read this weekend. It's a little too emotional in his absence to kind of read the letter before. And as my brother and I said, it's such a dad gem. We'll keep it under wraps. But he wrote it in green ink on those tricolor pens we used to have as kids, with the red, the green, and the black ink, which were interesting timing and color. So he wrote this in like green ink on the thinnest possible paper. It's a reminder when we choose how we show up, when we choose the voice. And I appreciate, in the complex season of gratitude, grief, and growth following his absence, that and honoring, celebrating his life and his legacy, that the compass, his moral compass, I finally understand this now as his child, without understanding the framework with which he operated his entire life, and the courage it took him to write this letter, encouraging his kids not to fight. And I took that charge, as you would say, to heart. What I love is what you're saying is, in how we manage fear and courage, he and I had a discussion about this, that I believe I'll always play back from the context of that photo. And you're going to laugh because I actually even put that photo in one of our Impossible Live graphics. But I think what you're saying about, from the courage perspective to how we show up, there's a gem in your book about our unique moral compass. What guides us, how we navigate our fragile world, how we navigate changes, how we navigate whether we show up. And on LinkedIn, they always say, don't discuss religion and politics. And I happened to see a post in the community that Roy and I are a member of that was very political in nature, but it brought out my moral courage. It brought out my, you would say steadfast courage. It brought out my empathetic courage. These are all different chapters in Martin's amazing book. And all I can tell you is I'm ready for the book club, y'all, because we need somebody to take us through this with care. And your book has beautiful exercises, beautiful scenarios, and beautiful in the sense that your PACE framework gives us the opportunity to explore it individually, to explore it privately, to explore it in a group, to explore it as leaders, to explore it with our team. And just, Martin, woo, the timing of your book. No, and I know you said it before, you don't believe in fate. I believe in divine timing, and I think you got it without you even having any idea.
We have different views on something. I don't believe in fate. You believe in divine timing. And we're having a conversation. And we are respecting each other's point of view and learning from each other. And I think we need more of that. I just think we need more of just being able to listen and to respect the other person's point of view. That this doesn't mean some kind of free speech, having to go at somebody's identity, who they are, treating them with absolute utter contempt. That's not what I mean. And we all know there's a very fine line. We might have a different way of doing something. We might have a different solution or idea to a problem. And somebody else may have a complete opposite idea. But through a conversation, we start to refine. The book had 4 drafts. It's a very iterative process. It's very different, the first draft from the final draft, the second draft to the third draft. I had some feedback from my great editor, Christine Matheson Green, who guided me through the whole process. It was about refining and refining in different exchange of ideas. That's how innovation happens, through people discussing. If you work in technology teams, there are daily stand-ups, there are huddles, people, what's happening? Where's this at? Where can I help you with? Or do they have a problem here? Does anybody have a suggestion? That's all a different exchange of ideas. And I really hope we don't lose that with the adoption of AI. I would hate to see AI replacing those human conversations, that idea generation. And as a leader, there are really 5 ways you can model courage. It's what I call making courage a habit. And the first is to start from a place of courage. So much easier. Second is leaning into fear. Why are you feeling that way? Why are you feeling that way? Using that information. And the third one is committing to your values. I did that twice because there's moral courage, committing to your values, because it's so crucial. And the fourth is making courage the norm, accepting people where they are at and the mistakes that they make. And the fifth is, just being consistent and getting on with it. Just stop talking and doing something. The risk of talking and talking means that's all it is just talk. And you can be so fearful of doing something, you talk yourself out of it. Or why don't you talk yourself into it and start doing it?
I absolutely love that. And I know we're recording, and this is, as you would say, real life. So you'll hear water trickling in the background. You'll hear the sounds, as Martin says, of how we show up. These are the realities. But those fives, oh, Martin, that was a mic drop again. I'm looking forward to it. I'm sitting here, and I always sit with a pen in my hand, and you'll laugh from reading Martin's book. I have so many notes, and I teased Martin. I said, Martin, we're not going through my notes, because if we go through them all today, this will become a series of VIP days. But I think also the thing to in one of your exercises, you help us explore through that lens of the moral compass or our moral courage of how to respond when those of us who were bullied as children, and I'm one, that those of us who didn't have a way as children to fight back against the bullies, one of your exercises or scenarios that I thought was so enlightening, and you'll laugh because I have dug out post-it flags
Oh,
to put in my notes. So Martin will laugh, because I showed Martin my notes, and Martin will laugh. I've got post-its on my notes.
oh my God, I've just seen it. I'm like this book. There's all of this writing in.
So when I get the book, it'll be great because I'll be able to put the flags in there. And I laugh because there's another book that I started this year. It's an evolution journal through the human design lens. And I was telling somebody, I pulled out the highlighter, I pulled out little flags. And I think that's the part that I really appreciate about our conversations, a reminder, even when we don't necessarily agree. And that will be punctuation from a family member. No worries. that it is the reminder. Life happens and stuff happens.
Yeah.
And it's one of the joys, I think, of being online a lot in the virtual space. It's the reality. And what I laugh at is there's something really rich in our conversations, whether we're always present with respect, fully present. Today I was saying to Martin, and I'm so appreciative of our opportunity to pre-record. For those of you who are used to the hi, I can't wait till Martin and I are in the same space, watching and connecting with you live. And you have the opportunity to be team live and team replay and tell us what you're thinking, what this is bringing up for you. One of the things that I found was so challenging this week, besides speaking to people about, how they're watching the news or how they're consuming it, I really minimized and changed my notifications. And I changed my notifications in the sense of really guarding that moral compass part. There's stuff that affects it that just can kind of suck the air out of a room, for lack of a better word, or cause us to want to take a step back. And from a positive intelligence perspective, from starting to explore the vulnerability, it's a beautiful theme throughout your book. Your vulnerability, your transparency, and the gentle way you're sharing stories with kindness and amazing rich quotes from Muhammad Ali, amazing quotes about Stonewall, about characters, about people that maybe are larger than life. Nelson Mandela, your Nelson Mandela section just reminds me of being a young adult, and one of our friends who's a guardian angel said, Mel, we need to go see Nelson Mandela. He's going to be on 125th Street. He's going to be in a motorcade. There's going to be thousands of people. We have to get there early. We have to go after work. And we went to a neighborhood that at that time wasn't always safe. And you could feel the air of safety. You could feel the air of excitement. I never had an opportunity to, other than through my dad's lens, to enjoy Martin Luther King stories. But your chapter reminded me of being with Kay, and I still have my button that we bought that day when Nelson Mandela was in a motorcade and waved at us. And you couldn't tell us that we weren't seen. You couldn't tell us that he didn't feel us. You couldn't tell us that he didn't hear us. And that is the part of courage, your right hook. If there was a gift we could give to people to brighten, lighten their steps, or the lens through which they approach the challenging conversations, the roadblocks, the hurdles. Martin has it all in that amazing book.
So in the what I did in every single chapter, apart from chapter 12, is I have an example from history, an example of somebody who has demonstrated that pillar of courage or that particular step. I try to take the angle. I'm going to talk about Muhammad Ali here, because I was quite critical of a UK television host. He was a guy called Michael Parkinson, a very, very famous chat show host. And have a lot of respect and admiration for Michael Parkinson and what he achieved. But I watched a few years ago Michael Parkinson being interviewed, and he talked about a conversation with Muhammad Ali and how he didn't always like him, first of all. So I wanted to just go back at times when he interviewed Muhammad Ali. So I went back 50 years ago. And there was a time in the audience, it was very, why do you talk about racism? Why do you talk about all of those things? And that's the issue I have is from a person who's not experiencing the discrimination. Why do you always constantly go on about this? And there was a member of the audience who was basically saying that, this is the 1970s. There are black members of the England boxing team as well as white members of the England boxing team. Surely everything's okay because we have black members of the England boxing team. So we're going back 50 years, the 1970s. High levels of racism, and we're still talking about these issues today. And there has been some progress, don't get me wrong, but we're still having to talk about issues, and there's still a level of discomfort about talking about racism. And that discomfort has led to the removal of protections, the removal of programs to address racism, to address homophobia and other forms of discrimination. And that's why I consistently talk about moral courage. So 50 years ago, there was discomfort about talking about something, about Muhammad Ali talking about something. And I imagine 50 years later, we're still having the same discomfort. And the impact of that is initiatives to address and remove issues such as racism, homophobia. Those are things that's being removed, not the actual discrimination. And I think that's why I will always continue speaking up and speaking out and being an ally to others and leading change within boxing. I'm on my soapbox now. I always do this. Going on my
you're so not on a soapbox. And one of my guests, her handle was Sacred Soapbox. So believe me, it's really an element sometimes too of Impossible Lives. So I appreciate not only your courage but the inspiration to go there, because we're in a world sometimes where the shh and the reminder in your book about us showing up to take a more active role in becoming transformative forces for good. I never realized that Ignite Trust would light me up so much. I think one of the gifts is conversations with my mom, who's about to celebrate a birthday, and mom said, your dad loved listening to you talk about trust. And we finally, in one conversation, I said, why is that? She says, he would always speak about his little girl and how her trust was broken.
Yeah.
And how in the conversations about trust, he could see that she was trying to fill the wellspring of trust. And I think, as you would say, he in his own way was my internal activist for human rights. I'm on the board of Fearless, Hudson Valley, human trafficking, teen dating violence, intimate partner violence, an agency that supports a lot of the intersections. And Pop would come to the gala, and I would love that picture of my parents and I at that gala, because you could see he was able to breathe freely in that environment, and that it wasn't always like that for him. So I really appreciate not just the courage and transparency with which you share your journey, but I think also from a healing perspective, because it takes us all a lot of times, plenty of drama out there, plenty of drama, you know. But your book offered me a lens to really detach from some of the emotional stuff of what's happening this week, which is one of the gifts of positive intelligence through trying to change and be fully present or show up in sage energy space. But from the trust perspective of what Yvette Bethel of Organizational Soul has shared about trying to lean into emotional mastery, which is one of her pillars of trust. So I love the correlation. And Martin, I'm going to invite you back whenever you're ready, before that next book, in between that next book, for the book club. But before you leave us today, and for our listeners, shortly you'll see a QR code to buy this amazing book, Courage Your Right Hook. And I welcome you in the comments to share your ahas, to share the link, to invite somebody else into the process of joining Martin, the Courage Champion, for these conversations of showing up as he takes us on this amazing courage journey with his pillars, with his fantastic. What do you have coming up, Martin, that you want to share about?
What I have coming up. So this book is a key plank of a new consultancy practice I'm moving into, which is a courage-based leadership and high-performance team program. So I build from the book into how, as a leader, a business leader, a corporate leader, somebody wanting to aspire to develop their leadership skills into courage, into taking people of a journey. And it basically has 5 elements and 5 workbooks. There's a courage survey. There's actually a deeper exercise and program of working through the 6 pillars, and then building their own purpose statement and their courage plan and their own steps of pace, then into how you can be a better communicator through storytelling. So it's a business-driven storytelling, and then a courage blueprint where I take you through the 5 steps of the courageous habits and how to be a better leader to drive and develop high-performance teams. So that's my next thing. If anyone wants to work with me, please reach out.
You'll also see under Martin's name that's displayed on the screen that will take you to a rich website full of amazing resources and opportunities to book this amazing keynote speaker to come into your organization. One of the things I love about how we're approaching working with teams and leadership from such totally different directions. And I love that in your profound offerings, the reminder to really just show up and be fully present, because that sometimes seems to be what's missing. We're in a world where there's, as one of my collaborators likes to share, so many competing priorities, so many distractions, so many different roles. And I love that you're exploring and helping us explore how we take a personal deep dive, how we could take a deep dive with our teams, with organizations, with other groups that we're a member of. And I think also for your leadership program, when you have a chance later, as you get there, share with us a way to get on your waiting list. Share with us maybe some upcoming dates too, because we're going to have a summer retreat and I'm going to invite you in somehow so we can hang out and rock the world for teams and organizations. But let us know what else is coming up for you, Martin, that you'd like us to share with the listeners.
That's the truth. I've been working on this for several months now. So there are 5 workbooks. I need to start writing the 5th one in the next few days. So that's my key thing at the moment is the leadership program. I'll share what it's called. It's called the Courage Accelerator.
See, I love that, because as you're saying, you're the courage champion. I think from a leadership perspective, maybe Mel's perspective, but I'm sure our listeners would agree. You're also a courage catalyst. You're a reminder for us to hold spaces for each other, to show up in safety, to share our own voices, our opinions. That conversation we had the day that I had an opportunity to share my first stage with you,
Yeah.
man, I just want to say thank you. Not only for the honor of you sharing your talents, your beautiful voice, your incredible vibes with us, but you really helped me lean into Smiles Across the Miles and Ignite Trust. And I want to thank you because in the beginning, it may not always feel like a comfortable pair of shoes we're trying on, and we're not sure who to invite into the conversations or the discussions or sometimes how to start them. Now I've got a book coming out, Brave Conversations about the Undiscussables. It will take longer than Martin's workbooks because cool projects are here, and we're grateful for that. But Courage Your Right Hook and Martin Stark, and buying this book for somebody you care about or you want to have a conversation about. Courage is an accelerator. Martin is a catalyst. Martin is a champion yourself, exploring pillars of courage. But we can't thank you enough for joining us today. And I am laughing because Martin is a performance and an endurance athlete. So I'm gonna I'm gonna toast him today with a drink the Olympic athlete.
Well, thank you so much. It's been lovely chatting with you as always, and a big thank you to everybody watching, inviting me just to share my story and the book and everything else. And honestly, you can achieve many things in life with courage. It just makes that whole process a lot easier.
Stay safe, stay well, stay inspired, stay in touch, and reach out to Martin every opportunity that you can across platforms. And we hope you have a magnificent day filled with opportunities and possibilities. Thanks for spending part of your day with us. And
Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. And oof, thank you so much, my dear friend. Take great care.
Cheers. Thanks.